I saw wasn't human.
Oh my God!
It was very tall. What's more, it saw me. This thing.
Rawhead Rex.
This podcast is not safe for work and will feature movie spoilers. It will feature scenes described of a graphic nature. It will contain language which most listeners may find offensive. Welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. And welcome back to another instalment of Rawhead Rex in PCs. This is a sub-series of the podcast Under the Stairs, where I, your host Duncan McLeish, take the beloved classic Rawhead Rex from 1986, no sarcasm in there at all, break it up into 5-minute segments, bring podcasters from around the globe to join me and talk about those 5 minutes in recordings that are a lot longer than 5 minutes. And then if that wasn't enough, I then throw that extra little bit of fuckery spice on top just to give it some zing. It's podcast Under the Stairs, nothing is simple. The release order is non-linear. They've been randomised, so this might be the first episode you're hearing. This might be the last one. It could be something somewhere in the middle. On this episode, we are discussing minutes 15 through 20. At the minute 15 mark, David Duke's character, Mr. Hallenbeck, is talking to his wife in a room above a pub. And at the 20-minute mark, this will finish with a very scared farmer's wife behind a door listening to hear for noises. Joining me on this episode is my main squeeze, the man, the myth, the legend, the Baz.
Big ora, sexy bitches. Wear me lucky charms. That's actually old Irish as well. That's studied that up and everything.
You.
No, I didn't.
No, you
That's
didn't.
bollocks. Apparently, it's an advert for cereal. That's what you get.
I think you've done as much research into Ireland as this director has. So.
That's true. At least I've been.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Everything's wrong here. So before we get into this, very similar to what we did in PCs, right? This is a movie that you famously did a commentary of and were at the end of it like 2 steps away from driving to my house to slap me.
I was violently disappointed with this film.
Yeah, so why the fuck did you volunteer to do another one of these on this movie?
Well, do you know, to be honest, I really enjoyed what we did on Pieces.
Yeah.
I thought the whole concept was quite fun, and to be quite frank, the episodes are dead easy, you know, for us to do.
Yep.
I did take it on myself. I watched Pieces in its entirety before the last one, and with this, I went away the other night there and I watched Rawhead Rex.
Yeah, you sent me a picture of the title credits. I'm going in, and I'm like, oh fuck.
I believe the actual message read FML.
Yeah.
Which for the kids out there, is fuck my life. Face palm emoji.
It was like I was texting a teenager.
Yeah. But yeah, so I want, for anybody in the UK, if you have a Shudder subscription, you can get Rawhead Rex in there. I'm assuming it'll be on the Arrow one as well.
It must
the
be.
Arrow
Arrow
player,
still have the rights to over here, so it must be on the Arrow player as well. But yeah, it exists out there. Baz, I do need to ask, did your opinion change on Rawhead Rex as much as it changed with the classic PCs, which you are now a firm favourite fan of?
That's a fucking lie, Duncan. It probably changed to a similar level. I didn't despise the film the way I did the first time. I've just come to the conclusion that me doing these drunken ass comments is a terrible idea.
Everyone loves them.
I go in with such a bad attitude. Do you know what I mean? You could be like, we could do a commentary on Citizen Kane with tits.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like the porn version of Citizen, and I would go in with a surly attitude and not enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same with this. This is not a good film. I still maintain that Rawhead Rex is a bad film.
Oh, it's a bad film. Like, no one's ever going to argue it's a good film. It's entertaining as fuck.
I hate it. Again. And there was bits... there are bits that would give me a smell. I'm not like you. I can't sit and chortle my way through these bad movies the way you do. But there were a few bits that raised a wry smile.
Yeah.
So I'll give it that. Still shite.
Right, well, we'll see. We'll see if there was anything that gave you a wry smile in your 2 episodes. Now, interestingly enough, this could be, these could be released linear, your 2 episodes. So you could actually, in theory, hear Baz on this episode and then the later one, or there could be reverse. But almost unlike anyone except Ricky Morgan who's involved with this project, it actually isn't going to make a huge difference the order in which your episodes are dropped, because you weirdly got 2 5-minute segments back to fucking back.
Right, and fuck all happens in them.
Do
you know what I mean? So I've got one really funny line, and I'm forcing myself not to let it out because it's the only funny thing I'm going to say on this goddamn episode, and it comes right at the end of my segment. So I don't blow your load, Baz.
Hold.
Hold.
Right, let's get into this. So this one starts with this is like minute 15. This starts with David Duke. He's upstairs above the pub called the Tall Man with his wife, who's getting all tarted up for I don't know what she's going to, right? But
I can only imagine it'll be some fairly vigorous finger popping, Duncan. He's got that glint in his eye, my friend.
There is a bit when they're talking here, right? And she says, "So one more day," and he lifts up 2 fingers cheekily, and I was like, "Oh, she's in for a good time." And
we all know what that means.
I was like,
that's the shocker.
I was like, Baz has ruined me now, because that's where my brain went. And the previous time I watched this movie, my brain didn't go there. So not even a little bit. That didn't even come into consideration.
The previous 74 times I watched this film, I did not think that.
71, how dare you? Right, so David Duke says to her, "I thought you'd feel at home here." And she says, "At home?" And he's like, "Irish forebearers and all that." I'm going to hit a pause here. Americans have this really, really, really... For a race of people that could not wait to get away from these glorious shores, they have a propensity to fixate on their ancestors coming from these glorious shores. It's a weird thing.
There's a reason they left, folks. You know what I mean?
It's really strange. And like because I've done many podcasts with Americans. If they're listening, I'm not directing this personally at you unless we've had this conversation where they've got that, "Oh yeah, I'm like 1/8 Irish on my dad's side." We don't do that here. Like, I don't sit there.
No. I think though there's part of the, and it's not just America. I think it's the kind of North American, so the New World, you know, Canada and these places as well. All of their history, because obviously they won't talk about their indigenous history. Do you know what I mean? Because they just swanned in and fucking stole that, and then
erased the records.
The Holocaust and just annihilated it. So what they consider history is only maybe 300-400 years old. So they seem to have this they feel a need almost to relate back to the old world, you
Yeah.
know, like Europe and so on. And I don't know why, because it's shit over here. Do you know
And
what I mean?
like in a lot of respects, like you said, there's a reason their ancestors were like, nope.
Absolutely.
Let's risk almost certain death by traveling over this uncharted water to somewhere else.
I know, because the only one vegetable we can grow has started to rot. Let's get the F out of here.
only one vegetable we can grow.
Honestly, on this barren, salted rock that we live on, the one root vegetable that can survive these atrocious fucking conditions is now victim of a blight. So it's either a treacherous fucking cross-Atlantic journey or we start eating our children.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those that don't know, Baz has just distilled the entire potato famine into one quirky 2-minute story. That is it. That's exactly how it went.
We'll be hearing about this in the newspapers come the weekend.
The wife says it's just a vicious rumour put out there by my mother, and cause David Duke's full of the quick, swifty backhanders. He's like that. Your mother is a vicious rumour, which is basically the equivalent of going, your mom goes to college. You know what I mean? It's like literally is Napoleon Dynamite level roasting here.
Well, what actually popped into my head was Bernard Manning. It was like, my mother-in-law's so fat. You know what I mean? Oh, fuck, it's a mother-in-law joke, really? Fuck's sake.
Oh, for some reason, Les Dawson's dressed up like an old washerwoman. Les
Dawson.
I don't know what's going on. A genius. We've spoken about this before. Les Dawson, do you know how difficult it is to play something on the piano and deliberately play wrong notes?
Yeah.
Every fibre of your being tells you.
That.
Every fibre of your being will force you to play it correctly, and the fact that he could play it consistently wrong, but you would still know what the tune is just a different level of fucking comic genius, man. Absolutely amazing. Anyway, we're trying to fill time here because not a lot happens. Let's be honest. His wife goes, ha ha, and then she's like, one more day, and then I put here, David Duke shows her 2 fingers, squinty side eye. Meanwhile, at the farmhouse, Baz, where it's all going down, our buddy Dennis from the beginning of the movie shows up. Now, I'm going to warn you, through all of these, I've been doing horrible Irish accents, and I will continue to do that. So just
excellent.
Be prepared. Be prepared. They do shift slightly into Jamaican and then sometimes Indian for no reason. But I'm sure you'll be with us. And for everyone that says, "Oh, Scottish people sound like Irish," do it fuck. Do it fuck. So anyway, Dennis comes home. His wife's in the kitchen. She is washing up some vegetables, and she's looking a bit concerned, Baz, about the blue barn doors, which have not been locked properly, and they're swinging in the breeze, which I imagine have been doing that for a while. And I love this because this is classic home life. He comes in, he looks shattered. He's just been trying to pull a fucking stone out the ground, right? He looks shattered. His ass cheek has just touched the chair. Yeah, where you're like, oh, so he's just leaning back, and she's like, Dennis? And you can see it in his face, he's like, oh, fuck. It's like, what? And she's like, the barn door's not shut. Oh, sorry, the barn door's not shut. And he's like,
that wasn't bad.
Thank you, they get worse.
That was not bad.
They start okay. Trust me, you're going to cling on to that right now because it's about to go off the rails. And they went, I locked it. And she's like, well, it's open now. And stop laughing at me. And Dennis stands up, walks to the window, takes a look, and he's like, damn, I could have sworn I locked it. See, I told you.
Oh yeah, that took quite a fucking left.
It goes. The more I think about it, the harder it gets. Dennis walks up behind his wife, has a wee feel of her stomach. Clearly, she's up the duff. So instantly, I'm like, she's going to die because it's a horror movie, and this is like Rawhead Rex won't fuck up the only thing that every horror movie does when there's a pregnant woman in it. Like it'll kill the pregnant woman. I mean,
plus she's Irish, and most of them died in childbirth. So it's, you know what I mean?
I thought you meant she's Irish, so she's obviously pregnant.
Well, there's that as well.
Yeah, but we'll not go into that political conversation. So anyway, they both smile at each other longingly, and Dennis gets back out there, and she watches him go up the stairs. And when he gets up there and looks at the barn door, the lock has been smashed, Baz.
Can I just interject quickly?
Oh, go for it.
Now, Ireland is known across the world as the Emerald Isle.
The Emerald Isle, yeah.
Yeah. Vibrant green. When he looks out that window, is that not the greyest fucking visage you have ever seen since the cover of the early Visage albums, which had quite a grey tone to them? That just came to me there.
Visage, didn't they have that song, was it Turns to Grey?
Yes! Fade to grey.
Fade to grey. Well, there you go. It's the fucking circle of life.
Circle of life, big man. It's the circle of new romantic life. But it's like, why is it the Emerald Isle? It should be the fucking dirty grey sneer.
Easy.
Yeah, I'm just saying. We're all thinking it.
I'm sure the Irish Tourist Board are frantically trying to work a way of putting in the dirty grey smear into their advertising campaign. Visit Ireland, the dirty grey smear. Well, there's a bit, I think it's in the next bit you have, so people have already heard it or maybe about to hear it, depending on where it lands, where the Americans talk about landing in monsoon season. And I think they mean that unironically. I'm like, that. No, that's Ireland, and it's like that in Scotland as well. So it rains. It's overcast. Deal with it.
I'm from the west, the actual west coast of the country in Scotland, and obviously it's windier and rainier there than it is on the fucking east coast. Yeah. Ireland is on the west coast of Scotland, so the whole island is like that. So God only knows what the west of Ireland is like. You know what I mean? It must be fucking biblical.
Yeah. Like people just building arcs. This rain's not don't say they're going off. So anyway, he goes up there, looks at it, the door's been destroyed. He takes a wee look inside, and then we get a lot of, who's there? Who's there? I said, who's there? And like, stop laughing at me, right? I'm not trying. And he stares at a pile of crates, and then all of a sudden, Rawhead comes tearing out with the classic Rawhead roar, which is, ah! Ah! Fucking, and we still haven't fully seen this. This is the beauty of this scene. In a lot of respects, you landed gold here. We still haven't seen a full-on image of Rawhead Rex. We've seen him from the side, but not really seen him yet. So this coming scene is the first time we actually get to see him face on. And I'm going to be honest, the first time I watched this, I remember full on laughing. And even at this, the 71st watch, Baz, I fucking started laughing again. Because it's like, at some point, someone making this movie was thinking to himself, this is going to scare them. This is like the shark and Jaws coming out of the water. We're going to get them here. And there's no way to look at this fucking horrible, cockeyed, rubber-faced monster and not laugh. Well, there's a fucking stunt double for Odorous Arungus from Gwar. It doesn't look...
That's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, it makes zero fucking sense. But anyway, like poor Dennis is hauling ass down the stairs. Our good buddy Rawhead jumps down in one bound. Not a big jump. Dennis could have probably made that jump, but he chose to use the stairs, and as a result of that, he will die a horrible death, being munched upon by Rawhead Rex, who bites into him, right? And then brings his face up, and we get the first full frontal shot of Rawhead Rex. How would you describe it, Baz?
A pound shop predator. I mean, like a fucking Tesco value range predator with a mohawk.
With a mohawk? Oh, they gave him a mohawk for no reason.
Have you ever noticed though that Rawhead Rex looks completely different side on?
Yes.
to the way he does face on.
Yeah.
It's like it's two different fucking big rubber creatures.
Probably is.
Yeah, probably.
We spoke about this in another episode. There's also confusion as to how tall Rawhead Rex actually is, because sometimes he can walk through doors fine, and apparently he's 9 foot tall.
He's quoted in the film, I believe, as being like 8 foot or something.
Yeah, and he just walks through doors fine. And the Irish are not at all.
It's because the rubber bit, which is his head, just bends backwards when he goes through the door.
He's like a fucking bobblehead. Like, literally just like fucking... It's ridiculous. Anyway, Dennis gets bitten to fuck. And his wife, who has been making what I'm assuming is some sort of stew here, because we're just playing right into those stereotypes fucking hard.
It's the old Irish stew, mate. Most of it's stones. Just to pad it a bit. Just fucking bulk it up a bit. There's some stones in there, hen. Maybe some blackthorn twigs for roughage.
I'm gonna end up peeing myself here. Anyway. Fucking stones.
I just pictured her because you see her putting like a wee layer of parsley on, and that's just to hide the stones.
Dennis sitting down and taking a sip and going like that. How many stones did you put in this?
You've been skimping on the stones again. I can see my plate at the bottom of this.
Oh, fucking hell. Anyway, this giant fucking monster's bitten the fuck out of her husband. She locks the fucking door as if this is gonna stop him. This giant fucking prehistoric creature is like that. Oh no, she's found my one and only weakness, locks.
We never had them in my day. What witchcraft is this?
So she's walking backwards. Rawhead just smashes the fucking window, as you would. She is running away, desperately trying to run away, and then in the biggest dickish move that Rawhead could do, he just starts fucking with her kitchen. And you're like, she's an Irish woman in a kitchen. She takes pride in that kitchen's appearance, and he's just like that. Wouldn't it be a shame if the spaghetti got knocked over? Wouldn't it be a travesty if the flour went everywhere? Like, just like, he's fucking with our kitchen. You're like,
I've broken your eggs.
Watch this as I add an extra 2 stones to the stew. Like,
I will say though, that is possibly, and this is the one funny thing I had to say about this, and actually my stones in the Irish stew skit has well overtaken that, but my original only funny thing that I had about this was I think this film can probably lay claim to the most dramatic performance by a packet of dried spaghetti in cinematic history.
Each one comes out one at a time.
Falls down like a kind of floury kerplunk onto the floor. It's breathtaking stuff.
How many times did they have to shoot that spaghetti just to get that shot right?
How many spaghettis died to make that scene? That's what I want to know, Duncan. How many little shattered strands of spaghetti were cast aside like so many young girls in the 30s to make this scene work?
It's not a fact. It's not a fact that we can easily check on IMDb either. So
there's a reason for that. Don't
there is indeed. At this stage, like she is trying desperately to get away. She manages to get up the stairs because why not go up the stairs and make yourself more vulnerable? Yeah. And she locks herself behind another door because remember when that was successful earlier on. Rawhead doesn't know how to deal with doors, and while she's doing that, I've put here. Rawhead Rex is continuing to fuck with our kitchen, which he is. And this 5 minutes finishes with silence and the wife getting closer to the door to hear if she can hear Rawhead Rex, and we know that shit is going to take a nasty turn after that. Baz, that's your 5 minutes. We flew through this and actually was 100% more entertaining than I thought it was going to be. Granted, most of it was off the cuff and not related to the movie.
It was funnier than it had any right to fucking be, Duncan.
I would agree with that. Is there any particular line or action set piece in these 5 minutes that you would say was your favourite?
Oh, it's that spaghetti. Genuinely, I laughed about 3 different times watching that fucking scene. Just the way the spaghetti... It could only have been topped had it maybe been just a can of beans rolling poetically off the end of a shelf or something like that. It's just the stoicness of the spaghetti as it cascades to the floor. I'm like, it's a fucking packet of spaghetti.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Scene-stealing stuff.
Mings is the final reveal of Rawhead Rex's face, and then you realise that this is not the movie you thought you were going to be watching.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, fuck. They'll say, the dialogue's been awful up to this point. The acting has been borderline terrible, but you know what? They've got a giant monster, and that's what it looks like. Oh, no. Well... Especially,
because you know how... Well, this was maybe in, like, the DVD releases or something. There's a kind of image I have in my head of, like, Rex coming up out the grave type thing.
Yeah, it's the initial first shot of him.
Very kind of Evil Deadish.
It's so Evil Deadish. It's cool as fuck.
But Rawhead Rex does not look anything like that.
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. And they didn't even try. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for checking out this 5-minute segment of Rawhead Rex. The Baz has another one. It's the next 5 minutes. So if you thought that Baz was on tenterhooks wondering what happened to the poor pregnant lady,
hold on to your hats, folks. It's about to get fucking real spaghetti-ish. Real Italian cuisine up in this bitch.
And now, like, this idea of us using that just in common parlance for when things are going to get a bit hairy. Hey, things are about to get real spaghetti. Like,
the stones are going to hit the stew now.
Oh man, ladies and gents, we are going to be back with another one of these before you fucking know it. I'm doing episodes every day in October, so if it's not a Rawhead Rex one, the day after it will definitely be a Rawhead Rex one. And this could be anywhere in the sequence. I hope it's first. I hope it's the first one you hear, because some of them are nowhere near as entertaining as this. And I need to keep these hooked. I need to keep these hooked in. Ladies and gents, until I speak to you again, take care, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.